Hi, this is Dave Arch with a few thoughts about Cartman's drama triangle. Although most of the time I speak of this in the context of selling, how to keep a buyer-seller relationship from becoming dysfunctional, I'm finding that this principle, the principles contained within the drama triangle, spread their fingers out into so many of our relationships, as indeed a buyer-seller relationship is just one of the many relationships we have in our lives. The triangle is used to illustrate this dynamic within relationships, and usually there are at least two roles being played out. There's a persecutor and there's a victim. That obviously produces drama. A persecutor and a victim. Many times there's a third party involved, and that would be a rescuer. Now, when I say third party, that doesn't necessarily mean there has to be three people involved. What you have here are three roles. I'm going to encourage you to copy this diagram down and fill in the words that I'm giving you here. You have a persecutor, a victim, and a rescuer. Let's take it to an extreme so we can understand it from that perspective. In the home of an alcoholic, the alcoholic comes home late at night, is verbally and physically abusive, consequently is the persecutor, and other people are the victims. As he or she becomes sorry for their behavior, they come and apologize, and as other people feel sorry for them, they move to the role of rescuer. However, pretty soon the alcoholic repeats it, and the people then move to victim, but then pretty soon they get mad and they figure out how to get back at the alcoholic, and so now they're in the role of persecutor. What's unique about the Cartman's drama triangle is that people change roles within the triangle within minutes. They can go from persecutor to victim, from victim to rescuer. The key component is nobody within the triangle ever acts, they only react. They only react to what someone else in another role is doing within the triangle. There are doorways that an unsuspecting person can use to get into the triangle. When you step in to rescue without being asked to rescue, you can find yourself inadvertently standing in the triangle. I want you to assume you're in a parking lot and a husband and wife are fighting beside the car, their car. You come up to them in an attempt to rescue them from what's happening. Suddenly, they both unite and turn on you. You become the victim. They become the persecutors. They were merely acting out within the drama triangle. You stepped in to rescue without being asked to rescue. Now, I believe there's a difference between helping and rescuing. Rescuing is coming in to fix the situation, which no person can do. The people in it will need to fix the situation. That's not to say all of us don't need help from time to time. You can find yourself in the triangle by just not asking for what you want. And suddenly you're not getting what you want and you begin to feel like a victim. By the way, let me stop right here to say you don't even have to have anybody in this triangle to move through these roles. My wife and I had a recent, and now it's humorous, situation where we were going to do wallpaper stripping. Well, she was going to do wallpaper stripping. We had some wallpaper that needed to be taken down in our house. And she said, "Do you want to strip the wallpaper?" I said, "Sure." Well, I didn't really want to strip the wallpaper, but I said sure anyway. Well, it wasn't long into this wallpaper stripping, which if any of you have done it knows it's an arduous task, that I began to feel like I was being persecuted by her in having to strip this wallpaper. So I was getting angrier and angrier, feeling like I was a victim. Then I had to figure out how was I going to get back at her for making me do this. So I thought, well, the best way to get back at her is just to quit. So I said, I can't do this anymore. And I walked away. She said, "Oh, that's fine." That was my clue. She wasn't even in the triangle. And she went back and started stripping the wallpaper. Well, then I began to feel like I can't let her strip this whole wall. So I stepped back in as the rescuer, and I was back in the triangle. I was running all these bases by myself. She wasn't even in them. And finally, I can enter the triangle anytime I attempt to take revenge, because I always enter then as the persecutor, trying to figure out how to get back at somebody for what they've done to me. That's a sure sign I'm in the triangle. Now the question is, and I've got to be honest with you, I know people who can't do relationships any other way than by being in the triangle. So if you're going to do a relationship with them, relationship, that's in quotation marks, you're going to have to get into the triangle. You're going to have to be in one of those roles or they won't know how to relate to you. When a buyer and a seller get into the triangle, the relationship goes dysfunctional. There are many ways a buyer causes a seller to feel like a victim. Maybe they don't return your phone calls. Maybe they keep asking for proposals and never buy anything. And you've spent a lot of time writing proposals and sending them out, but they've never bought. You can start feeling like a victim. Then you can start saying, how am I going to get them back? Sometimes a buyer comes in and says, I've only got this much money, and you come in as a rescuer. Anytime you enter in one of those three roles towards a buyer, you have set up a dysfunctional relationship. How do you get out? There's only one way to get out. You don't play in the triangle. You just don't play. Will you lose some relationships? Sure, you'll lose the relationships of those people who can't relate outside of the triangle. But the relationships you keep will be far healthier, with far less expenditure of energy.